So, a very good afternoon to all of you. Jai Hind and welcome to Malhotra's IAS. Yes, welcome to the Saturday's weekly current affairs class. I hope that you all are doing good. Hanji, the ones who are live, who are connected on Zoom, please confirm it to me once. Am I audible to you guys? जो लोग Zoom पे हैं, the ones who are connected on Zoom, please confirm it to me quickly. If I am audible to you. All right, Simran and Nisha saying that yes, they are audible. Great. Great. Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, Yaman, Rohit, Gajanan. Good afternoon. Hanji, good afternoon, Rushi. चलिए, great. ठीक है जी, ठीक है. Thank you for the confirmation that it is audible. So we are connected and we are good to go. All right. ठीक है. So it's a pleasure to meet you people in the weekly current affairs class. चलिए. So today we, as you know that Monday to Friday the current affairs which we discuss are subject specific, and for Saturday it is just anything which is left over, the miscellaneous topics or any topics which we feel that were a part of that week's current affairs but have not been or could not have been covered in either of Monday to Friday session, right? So similarly today we are coming up, we are going to discuss very important interesting topics coming from your GS 1 to 3 different subjects, right? And the first topic, second topic, third topic, I'll not detail it right away, but we will just get into the class. All right. So there have been a host of coverage. There has been a host of coverage with respect to the World Press Freedom Index, right? This week also, and we can say in the month of March also, we have had articles. हमने articles देखे हैं हिंदू में concerning the deteriorating state of journalistic freedom in this country, and that now has been corroborated, या कह सकते हो कि उस पे एक तरीके से स्टैटिस्टिक का एविडेंस जो है वो भी लग गया है, या कह लो स्टैटिस्टिक्स का ठप्पा लग गया है. कैसे कि जो रिपोर्टर्स विदाउट बॉर्डर्स हैं, आरएसएफ जो एक ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है, रिपोर्टर्स सैंस बॉर्डर्स है ना, सैंस फ्रंटियर्स, आरएसएफ के नाम से जिसको हम जानते हैं, जिसको आप इंग्लिश में बोलते हो रिपोर्टर्स विदाउट बॉर्डर्स, राइट? वो एक वर्ल्ड प्रेस फ्रीडम इंडेक्स रिलीज करते हैं, एंड उसमें इंडिया का रैंक जो है वो गिरा है, राइट? सो दैट इज वन टॉपिक दैट वी आर गोइंग टू डिस्कस. देन अपार्ट फ्रॉम दैट, इसके अलावा एक टॉपिक और है हमारा, दैट इज कंसर्निंग द नेवल फोर्सेज इन द कंट्री, पर्टिकुलरली द सबमरीन डेवलपमेंट प्रोग्राम्स, राइट? और उसमें एयर इंडिपेंडेंट प्रोपल्शन सिस्टम को लेके अभी फ्रांस ने बैकआउट किया रिसेंटली, तो दैट ऑल्सो मेक्स pertinent, that also makes it important for us to discuss that topic. So that is going to be another topic for the day. उसके साथ साथ एक और चीज जो है, that is in debate, that keeps on coming in the news, that keeps on being a part of the debate in the academic circles also. और यूपीएससी ने भी सवाल पूछे हुए हैं कि कंट्री में जो हेल्थ कंसर्न्स हैं, हेल्थ कंसर्न्स से रिलेटेड व्हेन वी टॉक अबाउट हाउ वी आर labeling the food products, particularly the packaged food products, right? तो उसके regarding जो Food Safety and Standards Authority of India है, that is the FSSAI, that has come up with a draft which they want to implement. उसके ऊपर एक debate छिड़ी हुई है, experts ने कुछ उसके ऊपर criticism, कुछ उसके ऊपर उसके against कह लो arguments उठाए हैं. They are not very much in favor of implementing that FOPL. So that also we are going to discuss, right? चलिए, great. So we have sufficient number of people here. We have Rohit also, Pranjal. People are live on YouTube as well. चलिए, great. So let's begin with the first topic जो आज हम डिस्कस करने वाले हैं, that is World Press Freedom Index. Now this is a cutout from the Hindu which says that India's position on World Freedom Press Index falls. Another data compilation came from the Hindu itself which talked about the various aspects, the various parameters as far as the statistics are concerned, कि किस तरीके से ऊपर या नीचे हमने अलग अलग काउंट पे we have performed, that is our own country. So first things first, सबसे पहले तो ये देखो, we need to know that what exactly is this World Press Freedom Index. So as you have read in the cutout of the newspaper also that it is released by the Reporters Without Borders, या जिसको हम बोलते हैं Reporters Sans Frontiers, right? जो ये RSF है ना, इसकी एग्जैक्टली इसका जो फुल फॉर्म है, दैट इज रिपोर्टर्स सैंस फ्रंटियर्स. सैंस बेसिकली मीन्स विदाउट, राइट? दिस बेसिकली मीन्स विदाउट. So reporters without any frontiers, or we can say without any borders, that is, they are representing as a whole, they are representing the world, the global community as a whole. That is why the tagline, that is why their name is reporters without borders, right? So ever since 2002 they have been releasing this world press freedom index. अब इसमें ये क्या करते हैं कि कुछ पैरामीटर्स के बेसिस पे क्या करते हैं कि किसी एक कंट्री को, वर्ल्ड वाइड अलग अलग कंट्रीज को ऑफ कोर्स, एंड किसी एक कंट्री को जब दे आर इवैल्यूएटिंग, सो दे टेक अ नंबर ऑफ इंडिकेटर्स, दे टेक अ नंबर ऑफ पैरामीटर्स इनटू अकाउंट, ठीक है? उनके बारे में अभी आएंगे, बट जस्ट फॉर योर नॉलेज, जस्ट फॉर योर अंडरस्टैंडिंग सेक, दे टेक दोस नंबर ऑफ पैरामीटर्स इनटू कंसिडरेशन, एंड बेस्ड अपॉन दोस पैरामीटर्स दे गिव अ पर्टिकुलर रैंक टू अ पर्टिकुलर कंट्री के उस देश में जो प्रेस है, जो मीडिया है, उस मीडिया को कितनी आजादी है, वो कितने ओपनली इंडिपेंडेंटली ऑपरेट कर पा रहा है ना? मुझे ये बात बताओ, हम फोर्थ पिलर ऑफ डेमोक्रेसी किसको कहते हैं? यहां से एक चीज रिलेट करके देखो, हम फोर्थ पिलर ऑफ डेमोक्रेसी किसको कहते हैं? यस, एनीबडी इन द कमेंट सेक्शन? वी generally refer to a free and vibrant media or a free and vibrant press. Yes, exactly निशा, बिल्कुल, हाँ बिल्कुल, मीडिया। देखो, हमेशा ये कहा जाता है कि एक अच्छी, एक है ना, लाइवली, एक वाइब्रेंट डेमोक्रेसी में जो प्रेस है या फिर जो मीडिया है, एक फ्री और वाइब्रेंट मीडिया जनरली इज कंसिडर्ड टू बी द फोर्थ पिलर. दैट इज हाउ सिग्निफिकेंट, that is how important it is to have a free media, an independent media, an unbiased media, an objective media existing in your country, without which your democratic functioning gets compromised. Your democracy is unable to function at its full potential, right? There are chances कि आपकी डेमोक्रेसी क्या हो सकती है, कॉम्प्रोमाइज हो सकती है, उसमें खामियां आ सकती हैं. क्यों? क्योंकि अगर आपकी फ्री और इंडिपेंडेंट प्रेस नहीं है, मीडिया नहीं है, तो सरकार से सवाल पूछने के लिए यू डू नॉट हैव दैट काइंड ऑफ इंस्टीट्यूशंस इन योर कंट्री, राइट? तो उसी चीज को ध्यान में रखते हुए आरएसएफ जो है, दिस इज एन इंटरनेशनल एनजीओ विच इज बेस्ड इन पेरिस, जो क्या पब्लिश करता है? वर्ल्ड प्रेस फ्रीडम इंडेक्स, ठीक है? आई बिलीव यहां तक क्लियर है. फिर इसके साथ साथ देखो, इट हैज कंसल्टेटिव स्टेटस विद यूनाइटेड नेशंस, यूनेस्को एंड द काउंसिल ऑफ यूरोप. सो दैट मीन्स दैट दिस एनजीओ इज, यू नो, इट इज involved in some good work also. That is why it has been given this consultative status by the United Nations itself. तो हम अगर इसके डेटा के ऊपर, इसकी एनालिसिस के ऊपर सवाल उठाएं, तो that is not very easy to question their analysis, to question their statistics. ठीक है? क्यों? क्योंकि आपके सामने एविडेंट है that even the United Nations has given a consultative status to the RSF, right? इसके साथ साथ it ranks, as I've already told you, that you know the level of freedom which is available to the journalist in a particular country based upon that, and certainly including many more parameters जो भी हम डिस्कस करने वाले हैं just in a couple of minutes. उसके बेसिस पे क्या करती है? रैंक करती है इंडिविजुअल कंट्रीज को, हर एक देश को एक रैंक प्रोवाइड करती है. वो रैंक कई सारे और कह सकते हो पैरामीटर्स को ध्यान में रखते हुए और कई सारी चीजों को भी हाईलाइट करता है, राइट? सो लेट्स जस्ट नाउ मूव टू दैट पार्ट ऑफ द डिस्कशन जहां पे हम ये देख रहे हैं कि क्या पैरामीटर्स हैं. देखो, अब ये जो पैरामीटर्स हैं ना, कुछ ऐसे हैं जो ऑलरेडी एग्जिस्टिंग हैं, मतलब कि सिंस वी हैव डिस्कस्ड दैट कि 2002 से RSF has been publishing the वर्ल्ड प्रेस फ्रीडम इंडेक्स. सो कुछ पैरामीटर्स जो हैं वो 2002 से फॉलो हो रहे हैं, कुछ अभी नए ऐड हुए हैं, तो हम दोनों के बारे में बात करेंगे. वी आर गोइंग टू डिस्कस अबाउट ऑल दी पैरामीटर्स, राइट? सो फर्स्ट थिंग्स फर्स्ट, ये कुछ ऐसे पैरामीटर्स हैं जैसे कि प्लूरलिज्म, इंडिपेंडेंस ऑफ मीडिया, सेल्फ सेंसरशिप, लेजिस्लेटिव फ्रेमवर्क, ट्रांसपेरेंसी एंड द क्वालिटी ऑफ इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर विच इज सपोर्टिंग द प्रोडक्शन ऑफ न्यूज एंड इंफॉर्मेशन. ठीक है, ये कुछ ऐसे पैरामीटर्स हैं, दीज आर दोज पैरामीटर्स विच आर ऑलरेडी प्रेवलेंट देयर, जिनको ऑलरेडी जो है यूज कर रहा था आरएसएफ टू पब्लिश द वर्ल्ड प्रेस फ्रीडम इंडेक्स. ठीक है, अब कुछ नए चीजें जो हैं वो अभी ऐड हुई हैं, 5 नए पैरामीटर्स ऐड हुए हैं. क्या हैं वो पैरामीटर्स, वो जानने की ज्यादा जरूरत है क्योंकि ये एक नया एडिशन है, राइट? सो इन दिस ईयर्स वर्ल्ड प्रेस फ्रीडम इंडेक्स दे हैव एडेड द पॉलिटिकल कॉन्टेक्स्ट, the legal framework, economic context, socio-cultural context, and the security aspect or the security parameter. So these 5 are the new indicators. ठीक है. Now there can be a fact-based question in your prelims examination के कौन कौन से या identify the new indicators used by the reporters sans frontiers in their world press freedom index. ठीक है. तो उस केस में आपको ये याद रखना है that these are the new parameters, the 5 new parameters which have been recently added by the RSF in the world press freedom index. ठीक है. YouTube पे जो लोग डाउट पूछ रहे हैं, जस्ट होल्ड ऑन फॉर सम टाइम, आई विल एड्रेस ऑल द डाउट्स. ठीक है. YouTube पे जो देख रहे हैं उनको मैं बोल रहा हूं एक बार, अभी थोड़ा सा वेट करो, आई विल एड्रेस योर डाउट्स. नंदिनी आते हैं, अभी सारे एक एक करके देखेंगे. ऑलराइट नंदिनी, विल टेक अ लुक एट ईच ऑफ दीज पैरामीटर्स इन डिटेल. राइट, चलिए. सो नाउ कमिंग टू कि इंडिया ने देखो, अब ये जितने पैरामीटर्स हैं, जितने ये इंडिकेटर्स हैं, आउट ऑफ ऑल दीज इंडिकेटर्स द RSF has given a breakup of where does India fall. कि ये देखो, जो ये अक्रॉस कैटेगरीज, ये जो चार्ट है, जो ये पाई चार्ट इधर आपको लेफ्ट हैंड साइड पे दिख रहा है, इट शोज दैट इंडियाज रैंक अक्रॉस वेरियस कैटेगरीज इन 2022. मतलब कि इंडिया ओवरऑल जो है हैज स्लिप्ड टू 150 रैंक, 142 रैंक पिछले साल था. 8 पेडेस्टल्स इट हैज स्लिप्ड एंड इट हैज कम टू 150. राइट. इसके साथ साथ देखो, इकोनॉमिक कॉन्टेक्स्ट, लेजिस्लेटिव फ्रेमवर्क, पॉलिटिकल कॉन्टेक्स्ट, सेफ्टी ऑफ जनरलिस्ट्स या कह लो सेफ्टी इन जनरल, एंड द सोशो कल्चरल कॉन्टेक्स्ट, हर एक में इंडिया ने कहां कहां परफॉर्म किया है वो भी इस सब कैटेगराइजेशन में या इस कैटेगरी में एविडेंट है. राइट. सो फॉर एग्जांपल, इकोनॉमिक कॉन्टेक्स्ट वी हैव 149, legislative framework we are a bit better, we can say, compared to the overall rank, we are at 120. Political context we are at 145. Safety of journalists, this is worst. This is the worst. This is the worst category that India has performed pretty badly when it comes to the safety parameter of the journalists in the country. इसका एक और डेटा अगर आपने, if you are following the Hindu, it has, it carried a story in March, in the month of March. I think the date was 31st of March, if I'm not right. 31st March को भी हिंदू में एक आर्टिकल आया था where they talked about a particular journalist by the name, I think, Rana Ayub, where she was, the journalist was stopped from flying abroad. So that day also Hindu had talked about particularly 2 things. And both of the things pertained to the safety of journalists in the country. First was the arbitrary arrest of the journalists in the country. And second was the murder. That is how the journalists have been murdered in broad daylight. ठीक है? So that is how you can say that it is not something which is very new. ये चीजें हो रही हैं देश में और ये चीजें जो हैं हाईलाइट भी हो रही है मीडिया में. It is just that we are maybe not paying that much attention to these things, right? So here it is witnessed in this particular pie chart here itself that as far as safety of journalists is concerned, we have performed the worst. जो भी हमारे 5 ये नई कैटेगरीज में रैंक्स आए हैं. ठीक है. अब सबसे अच्छा कहां परफॉर्म किया है? लेजिस्लेटिव फ्रेमवर्क. यहां पे देखो, अब इस चीज में इसकी एनालिसिस को ब्रेक डाउन करो, जस्ट ट्राई एंड एनालाइज द थिंग्स हियर. इसको एनालाइज कैसे करने की कोशिश करो, दैट व्हेन वी टॉक अबाउट दिस लेजिस्लेटिव फ्रेमवर्क, वेयर आउट ऑफ ऑल दीज रैंक्स यू कैन सी दिस इज द लोएस्ट और दिस इज द बेस्ट रैंक व्हिच वी हैव accorded. So we can say that in India there are laws which are already enacted or which are prevailing. It is just that these laws maybe are not executed properly, or these laws are used for silencing the dissent or targeting the journalists or maybe targeting a free press. So this legislative framework जब हम डिटेल में डिस्कस करेंगे तो आपको ये दिखेगा कि इंडिया में there is no dearth of laws, या कह लो ऐसा नहीं है कि laws हमने नहीं बनाए for a free press. Even your fundamental rights, आप fundamental rights में पढ़ते हो कहीं पे प्रेस को कोई फंडामेंटल राइट, किसी भी फंडामेंटल राइट में प्रेस को इंक्लूड किया है हमने, फ्री एंड वाइब्रेंट प्रेस, या ऐसा कहीं does the chapter 3 of the constitution, which contains, you know, part 3 of the constitution, which deals with the fundamental rights part, does it contain any provision which relates to the media or a free press in the country? Yes, you must have done your polity component. Please tell me in the comment section. Hanji, which fundamental right can be said to be dealing with a free press? When we talk about Article 19 and when we talk about the freedom of speech and expression, in freedom of speech and expression, we also say that we have to have a free press. That is not just, there are not only statutory laws, but there are also constitutional laws, including even the fundamental rights, which provide or which at least envisage or at least tell us that the constitution makers also had envisaged a free media, a free press prevailing in this country, right? So given that, what I'm trying to make you understand is that we certainly have constitutional provisions also, we also have statutory provisions, but we are not, you know, using those laws for the right purposes maybe, and we are using those laws for selectively targeting the journalist, for selectively targeting the press, for making the dissent questionable, making the dissent die down, right? That is what these statistics in front of you also reveal, right? यहाँ तक क्लियर है? ये देखो, ये सारी जो रिपोर्ट आई है, इसमें आपके लिए दो चीजें इंपॉर्टेंट हैं. एक हो सकता है, वन कैन बी द फैक्ट्स, because they can form a question in the prelims. The second is the analysis of those facts, because they can make a part of your mains question in civil services examination. So you must be aware of the facts also, and you also try and break down those facts into analysis, that what exactly those facts reflect, क्या बता रहे हैं वो आंकड़े, हमें किस तरीके से एनालिसिस करनी है उस पूरे टॉपिक की, because that is where you will be helped in your mains answer writing, or as far as the mains part of the exam is concerned, right? Okay, so moving forward, now we'll take up all these 5 parameters one by one. एक बार डिटेल में देख लेते हैं, क्योंकि ये नए पैरामीटर्स हैं, तो what exactly is meant by this. So first, political context. देखो, सिंपल सी बात है कि आपके देश में एक फ्री एंड इंडिपेंडेंट मीडिया को कितना सपोर्ट है फ्रॉम द स्टेट एंड फ्रॉम द अदर पॉलिटिकल एक्टर्स ऑल्सो, right? That how autonomous is the media vis-a-vis any kind of pressure which is subjected on the media either from the state or from other political actors. देखो, इसमें सिर्फ और सिर्फ ये नहीं कह सकते कि स्टेट या फिर गवर्नमेंट जो है they are at the fault, ठीक है? क्यों ये नहीं कह सकते? Because many times we see that there are multiple political actors also, there are other political parties also, you know. Even ऐसा तो नहीं है ना कि every time the media is, you know, it is showing the government in bad light. Sometimes the media also tells about what are the good works which the government is doing, how better the government is implementing or designing some of the welfare schemes and policies, ठीक है? तो वहां पे अगर मीडिया जो है it is telling about some of the good works done by the government, then the opposition parties, just for the sake of opposing it, just for the sake of opposing them, start questioning the media. And this is not a new phenomena. It used to happen when the UPA was in power. It happens when NDA is in power, right? But the point is that these political actors, they are not letting the media have that kind of autonomy which is required for it to operate. ये चीज समझ में आ रही है? देखो, it is not just the government which is to be blamed. Yes, we certainly have to ask questions to the government, but it is also the responsibility. The questions must also be asked to the other political players in the country, to the other opposition parties in the country. Be it, you know, though they might not be sitting in the government, but still they are equally responsible for the fate of media which is right now in the country. Do you agree with me or not? Yes. Do you agree with me or not? You can say a yes or no. That is fine. But at least give me an answer. What do you think on that? All right. So that is the first thing in the political context. ठीक है? इसके साथ साथ देखो, the level of acceptance of a variety of journalistic approaches. वैरायटी ऑफ जर्नलिस्टिक अप्रोचेस जो हैं उनकी कितनी एक्सेप्टेंस है हमारे देश में, राइट, विच सर्टनली सेटिस्फाई द प्रोफेशनल स्टैंडर्ड्स ऑफ द मीडिया एंड दे आर politically aligned approaches and they are independent approaches. कि या तो हो सकता है वो politically aligned approach हो कि maybe the media house is portraying the government in good light or in bad light, or it can be an independent approach also. So what is the level of acceptance of that variety? बात यहाँ पे किस चीज की हो रही है, जो भी ये जर्नलिस्टिक अप्रोचेस हैं उनकी अलग अलग वेराइटीज की कितनी एक्सेप्टेंस है इन योर कंट्री. That is another thing in the political context, right? And another thing which says the degree of support for the media in their role of holding politicians and government accountable. देखो simple सी बात है, when we also talk about good governance, we say that yes, if the government is being held accountable, if the politicians, the leaders, the government and the bureaucracy, they are being held accountable, then certainly you have a good level of media, you have a free media that is operating. देखो simple सी बात है, we talk about 2-3 things. हम कहते हैं एक तो हो सकता है citizen. What we say is that there can be, when we talk about this accountability aspect, there can be either the citizens who are holding the government to account, or there can be the civil society. When we talk about the civil society, it certainly contains media also. And this media is what we are discussing here. So if this media is free, it is independent, it is impartial, then certainly this media will be able to hold the government, also hold the administration, or you can say the bureaucracy accountable. ठीक है, चाहे वो आपका एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन हो which is run by the bureaucracy, or it is the government of the day. If there are citizens and if there is a civil society which contains the media also, if that is free, that is independent, that is impartial, that is unbiased, it will be able to hold the government and the administration accountable. And that is where all of this, if it is done, we say that yes, there is good governance in the country. Right? So it is all interrelated. देखो ये सारी चीजें जो हैं, they are interrelated, and that is why you need to analyze the things from a larger perspective. ठीक है, सिर्फ एक वर्ल्ड प्रेस फ्रीडम इंडेक्स की बात नहीं है. It is about a host of things. Yes, online, is it clear? Please confirm it to me once. इतनी चीज समझ में आ रही है? अगर इतनी चीज समझ में आ रही है तो फटाफट एक yes टाइप कर दो कमेंट सेक्शन में. All right, great. So now moving to the next thing, that is the legal framework. So what exactly has RSF talked about when it talks about the legal framework? Again, it says that we are talking about the degree to which journalists and media are free to work without judicial sanctions or any kind of censorship. Censorship का मतलब ये हो गया कि any kind of blackouts which are forced by the government, or any kind of unnecessary, unlawful और arbitrary censorship. देखो ऐसा नहीं है कि जो भी आपका मीडिया है that can be allowed unrestricted freedom. Nobody is talking about, or nobody is asking for unrestricted freedom. But what we are saying is that this censorship should not be arbitrary. There should not be any arbitrariness in it. It should not be unlawful. The judiciary must not put sanctions or restraints on the media. Right? So that is what we are talking about in the legal framework. That is the first thing. Apart from that, the ability to access any kind of information without discrimination and the ability to protect sources. देखो इसके साथ हम जोड़ सकते हैं whistle blowers को भी. How? That there are many a times when there are media persons who act as whistleblowers. गेटिंग द पॉइंट. अगर कोई करप्शन का केस हो रहा है जिसके चलते कोई मीडिया हाउस कोई इन्वेस्टिगेटिव जर्नलिज्म कर रहे हैं एंड दे आर गेटिंग होल्ड ऑफ दैट काइंड ऑफ इंफॉर्मेशन which might expose some politician, which might expose a political party, or which might expose the government of the day, then certainly how better ability is there to protect those sources. That also becomes a part of the legal framework, right? And then the presence or absence of impunity for those responsible for acts of violence against journalists. देखो सिंपल सी बात यहां पे ये है कि अगर आपके पास कानून है, ठीक है, और उस कानून के होने के बाद भी इम्प्यूनिटी का मतलब ये है कि क्या उनको पनिश किया जा रहा है या नहीं किया जा रहा. अगर मैं सिंपली बात करूं, देन इट इज सिंपली द पनिशमेंट विच इज बीइंग गिवन, आइदर बीइंग गिवन और नॉट बीइंग गिवन, राइट? दैट इज if there is presence of any kind of violence or if there is absence, right? तो अगर ये violence हो रही है which is targeting journalists, which is threatening journalists, so whether those people are being punished or those are being just they are just roaming free and they have no threat of the law, ठीक है, that also is a part of this legal framework, right? So as per the रैंकिंग जो हमने अभी पीछे टेबल देखा उसमें 120 रैंक था लीगल फ्रेमवर्क का, तो दैट सेज दैट यस वी हैव एम्पल नंबर ऑफ लॉज, वी हैव एम्पल नंबर ऑफ प्रोविजंस व्हिच ट्राई टू सेफगार्ड द जर्नलिस्ट्स, बट इट इज इन देयर एग्जीक्यूशन, राइट? Yeah, some of the media houses were also banned by the government, as Yaman is writing on YouTube. Yes, absolutely right. ठीक है, तो ये हो गया लीगल फ्रेमवर्क. नाउ मूविंग टू द इकोनॉमिक कॉन्टेक्स्ट. अब इसमें देखो, एक मीडिया हाउस चलाने में या एक फ्री प्रेस चलाने में इट रिक्वायर्स सम अमाउंट ऑफ मनी, राइट? दे सर्टनली हैव टू हैव दैट काइंड ऑफ इकोनॉमिक रिसोर्सेज in which there are economic constraints also linked to government policies, that is including difficulty of creating a news media outlet. There is certainly favoritism in allocation of state subsidies. अब देखो इस ये फेवरेटिज्म जो है, इसकी जो एलिगेशंस या एक्यूजेशंस लगती हैं, हाउ दिस फेवरेटिज्म इज देयर इज द गवर्नमेंट, what how it happens is that I'm just giving you an example to make you understand that the government will provide, the government itself spends crores of rupees in giving advertisements through channels, through TV channels and through the newspapers. So if there are certain news channels or if there are certain newspapers which are independent and which are questioning the policies of the government, or which are maybe asking tough questions, which are criticizing the government, so what they do is that they will stop giving ads to those media houses or to those newspapers, and instead what they will do is favoritism. That is, those media houses or those persons in the media who are just, you can say, favoring the government, who are just favoring the government, who are not questioning the government, who are asking no questions to the government, those advertisements instead will be given to such media houses which are favoring the government. So what it does that, हो क्या रहा है इससे कि government is spending public money, but that public money is being spent precisely against any kind of public interest. क्योंकि public interest harm कैसे हो रहा है? अगर कोई मीडिया हाउस गवर्नमेंट को फेवर कर रहा है, इट इज नॉट आस्किंग द क्वेश्चंस, इट इज नॉट शोइंग द थिंग्स इन in an impartial way, then certainly it is harming public interest only. And on top of that, the government is favoring such media houses, such channels, such newspapers by rewarding them with those advertisements which the government gives, spending public money itself. So that means that it is a lose-lose situation for the people of India. It is a negative combined with another negative, wherein you are losing out on both the counts. Getting my point? Nisha, certainly I'm not denying that without censorship the media can hurt sentiments and relieve something important to the public. Yes, I do agree with that. Nobody is saying that there has to be no censorship. Certainly you have to curtail, you have to put some restrictions on how the media, or for that matter anybody in the country, operates. and that is where Article 19 itself, that is the article which talks about the freedom of speech and expression, tells you about specific restrictions which can be placed or which can be laid upon, right? But still there has to be some amount of autonomy also to be given to the people, to the media, to the press, so that they are able to function effectively. Otherwise क्या होगा, that you are simply creating lapdogs. Lapdogs का मतलब ये होगा कि पालतू आप सिर्फ जो है ना, you're just creating, you're just making them your lapdog and they will just be dancing to your tunes. They'll be only dancing to your tunes and nothing else. Right? I believe, Nisha, that is clear to you. All right, so that is the economic context. Now moving to the socio-cultural context, that is another parameter that has been added this year. So this is basically dealing with the social constraints जो result कर रहे हैं कहाँ से, denigration से या फिर any kind of attacks on the press based on issues such as gender, class, ethnicity and religion. Right? So I do not want to name, but certainly there are, you know, biases, there are social constraints. If you belong to a particular community, if you belong to a particular gender, certainly female gender or the females, they certainly face this kind of, you know, incidences in their career. There are people from some particular religions also which face certain kind of constraints which we can say are social constraints, right? And apart from that, cultural constraints including pressure on journalists to not question certain bastions of power or not cover certain issues. Certain bastions of power का मतलब हो गया certain institutions or certain people, or you can say a certain party, or you can say a certain, you know, organization which is close to a particular party or maybe to the government of the day. So you are not supposed to ask questions to those people. That is the socio-cultural context which the World Press Freedom Index has included in 2022. ठीक है? All right. Then moving to the next last thing, that is concerning the safety parameter. अब इसमें देखो क्या है कि ability to gather news without unnecessary risk of any kind of bodily harm, which can mean that the person is getting murdered, or any kind of violence, arrest, detention and abduction, that is kidnapping. ठीक है? ये तो हो गया physical harm या फिर कह लो bodily harm. Now it is not just the physical harm, it is not just the bodily harm, it is also the mental harm, it is also the mental or psychological stress, right? So any kind of psychological or we can say emotional distress while you're collecting that news, you know, while you're gathering that news, that could result from intimidation, coercion, harassment, surveillance, doxing, etc. etc. कि आपको threats मिल रहे हैं, आपको target किया जा रहा है, you are getting, you know, you are being abused online, you are being abused on a social media platform, you are getting abusive messages on your WhatsApp, maybe you are getting abusive calls also. So that is where it results into a psychological distress, into an emotional distress which the person is feeling while they are gathering news. So that deals with another parameter on the safety front of the person, right? Then any kind of, this is one, that is bodily harm or physical harm. This is second, mental, psychological, emotional harm or distress. And the third is in this safety only, that is professional harm. That you make the organization fire that person, that there is a constant threat of losing their job if they are reporting against the government, or maybe they are asking questions to the government, right? Including confiscation or, you know, sealing the professional equipment or maybe ransacking the installations. Ransacking the installation का simply मतलब ये हुआ कि वहां पे गए कुछ गुंडे जिनको भेजा किसी ने या किसी पार्टी ने या किसी गवर्नमेंट ने या किसी भी और आउटफिट ने, और वो जाके वहां तोड़फोड़ करके आ गए उनके ऑफिस में, राइट? दैट इज व्हाट इज द थर्ड काइंड ऑफ हार्म, दैट इज प्रोफेशनल हार्म, जो इस सेफ्टी फ्रंट पे कंसर्न्ड है हम, राइट? यस, एग्जैक्टली प्रांजल, वी कैन सर्टनली talk about cyber bullying also, which is a very prominent phenomena in these days. right? That on social media, people, journalists, particularly the ones who are doing their job honestly, they seriously face this trouble of cyberbullying, right? So that is the last and the fifth parameter, that is with respect to safety. हाँ जी, इतनी चीज फटाफट मुझे बता दो, ये चीज क्लियर है यहां तक जो हमने पैरामीटर्स डिस्कस किए हैं? यस, ऑनलाइन बोथ जूम एंड यूट्यूब, प्लीज कंफर्म इट टू मी वंस. ठीक है. Now moving to the major findings. Now look, when we talk about the global scenario, then certainly we are going to take a look at the graph also. But otherwise, there are certain Scandinavian countries which usually happen to be at the top, and that is the case this year also. You have Norway, Denmark, Sweden, Estonia and Finland who have managed to occupy the top 5 positions, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this can be a question in your prelims, although they are not interested in all the top 5-10 countries, but yes, they might ask you who is at the top and who is at the bottom. ठीक है, तो इसलिए आपको टॉप 2-3 या 3-4 और बॉटम के 2-3 पता होने चाहिए. Then Russia has also deteriorated, China has rather improved, ठीक है, and North Korea has been the bottom most, or it has been at the bottom of the list, right, at 180. So when we take a comparison in this graphical form here, so this graph gives you 180 countries for 2022 Press Freedom Index, and you know the countries which have ranked lower than India include Russia, Sudan, Pakistan, Bangladesh and China, right? So ये देखो, ये आपको दिखा रहा है 1 to 29, it is Norway to Argentina. Then 35 to 42 you have South Africa, US. Nepal is here at 76, Brazil, Ethiopia, and this South Sudan, and then India in the last category of 150 to 180. That is, जो ये groupings हैं, rank groupings, इसमें जो last grouping है 150 से 180, उसमें इंडिया फॉल कर रहा है at 150. इससे पहले हमारा रैंक था 142, जो कि था 2021 के रैंकिंग्स में, राइट? सो दैट इज द कंपैरिजन वर्ल्ड वाइड. नाउ लेट्स टेक अ लुक एट द इंडिया स्पेसिफिक केस. ये तो हो गया वर्ल्ड वाइड. Now talking about India's performance. So already I have briefed you that we have slipped from 142 to 150 position, and this has been, you know, a trend that is consistent from 2016. देखो अब यहाँ पे आपको ध्यान में क्या रखना है, that the Union Public Service Commission, it is always interested in what are the trends. ये आपसे पूछते हैं consistently, ये word use करता है UPSC, the word, this is, you know, consistently, or you can say steadily. If you have seen the previous year's papers, you must have come across such words being used in the prelims examination by UPSC: steadily, consistently, right, or on a continuous basis, or continuously. So these are certain words which should raise your eyebrows. कि आपको यहाँ पे there should be, you know, there should be an alarm which should ring in your mind that this word is being used, whether it is, this statement is going to be right or wrong. तो आपको यहाँ पे ये देखना है कि 2016 से इस डेटा की अगर एनालिसिस की जाए, then consistently there is a fall in India's rank. मतलब कि लगातार 2016 से लेके 2022 तक हमारा ग्राफ ऐसे आया है, बीच में एक बार भी इंप्रूवमेंट नहीं है, ठीक है? तो if at all there is a fact based statement in the exam, then it will be correct. 2016 से लेके 2022, राइट, ठीक है? तो इस चीज का प्लीज ध्यान रखना. दिस इज एन इंपॉर्टेंट, यू नो, एरिया वेर यूपीएससी माइट ट्राई टू ट्रिक यू. फिर रीजंस हम डिस्कस करेंगे, बट ब्रॉडली देखो, ब्रॉडली जो रीजंस बताए गए हैं, दैट देयर इज पॉलिटिकली पार्टिजन मीडिया, दैट इज media is favoring some political parties or the government, maybe the ones which are in government, and the kind of violence against the journalists. That is what broadly the report has cited as reasons. We are going to take a look at these in detail. But before that, यहाँ देखो ये ग्राफ क्या दिखा रहा है हमें. This chart is showing something here. ये रहा आपका 2016. And from here you can see consistently we are falling. कि यहां से लेके ये 2022 तक कंटिन्यूअसली वी आर डिपिंग डाउनवर्ड्स, मतलब कि स्टेडीली और यू कैन से कंसिस्ट ऑन अ कंटिन्यूअस बेसिस, ऑन अ कंसिस्टेंट बेसिस, इंडियाज रैंक फ्रॉम 2016 टिल 2022 हैज फॉलन एंड इट हैज रीच्ड अ न्यू लो। ठीक है, दो बातें हैं, एक तो ये है कि स्टेडीली फॉल हुआ है फर्स्ट, एंड सेकंड इट हैज रीच्ड अ न्यू लो। न्यू लो का मतलब ये हुआ कि इतना ज्यादा नीचे हम कभी नहीं गिरे। ठीक है, ये देखो यहां 2005 2002 यहां दिखा रखा है 2002, since 2002 till 2022 never has a time come where India touched 150 and that has happened this time. ठीक है, so that is where this graph helps you that यहां 2016 से लेके there is a steady decrease, right? चलिए ठीक है, now coming to why कि रिपोर्ट क्या कह रही है, रिपोर्टर्स साइंस फ्रंटियर्स ने क्या आर्ग्यूमेंट दिए हैं that why is there a decline in India's rank. So what they say is that Indian authorities, the governmental authorities, they have been targeting journalists and online critics. That is, anybody who is questioning the government is being targeted first. Second, journalists are being prosecuted under counter terrorism laws, sedition laws. अब इस sedition laws के ऊपर we have many times we have had discussions. Yes, in the previous current affair classes हमने सेडिशन के बारे में बात की है। तो इस सेडिशन लॉ से रिलेटेड जो दिक्कत ये है कि सेडिशन लॉस को और काउंटर टेररिज्म लॉस को अगर सिर्फ जर्नलिस्ट्स को और मीडिया पर्संस को टारगेट करने के लिए यूज करोगे, देन सर्टेनली इट विल लीड टू अ डिरेलमेंट ऑफ योर डेमोक्रेसी, बिकॉज योर फोर्थ पिलर ऑफ डेमोक्रेसी इज बीइंग टारगेटेड एंड इट इज द डिसेंट विच इज बीइंग कट डाउन। ठीक है, देखो सेडिशन लॉज जो हैं बहुत ज्यादा सीरियस लॉज हैं। दिस इज समथिंग जिसको हम हिंदी में क्या कहते हैं, देशद्रोह, राइट? दैट इज द चार्ज व्हिच इज बीइंग पुट टू अ जर्नलिस्ट फॉर जस्ट क्वेश्चनिंग द गवर्नमेंट। सी देयर इज अ डिफरेंस, एक चीज समझो यहां पे, देयर इज अ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट डिफरेंस व्हिच यू मस्ट अंडरस्टैंड। देयर इज अ डिफरेंस बिटवीन इफ यू आर क्वेश्चनिंग द स्टेट और यू आर क्वेश्चनिंग द गवर्नमेंट। देखो ये हो गई देश की बात, दैट इज द इंडियन स्टेट, इंडियन स्टेट और आवर कंट्री, ये हो गई देश की बात। नोबडी इज क्वेश्चनिंग इंडियन स्टेट, वी आर ओनली इंटरेस्टेड इन क्वेश्चनिंग द गवर्नमेंट which has been elected by us people for welfare of the country, for welfare of the citizens. So there is nothing wrong in questioning the government. Nobody is questioning the state. We are only interested in questioning the government, and this is very much right. This is very much constitutional also. Yes, constructive criticism, and that too against the government, not the Indian state, is what we are saying. ठीक है, इतनी चीज समझ में आ रही है? यस ऑनलाइन फटाफट कंफर्म करके बताओ कि क्वेश्चनिंग द स्टेट इज अ डिफरेंट थिंग, क्वेश्चनिंग द गवर्नमेंट इज ऑल टुगेदर अ डिफरेंट थिंग। आप सरकार से सवाल बिल्कुल पूछ सकते हो क्योंकि आप लोगों ने उस सरकार को चुन के सत्ता में बिठाया है। You, the people of India, we, the people of India, have elected that government to power, and certainly we have all the constitutional right to question that government, to put that government to constructive criticism, right? We are not questioning the Indian state. Yes, exactly. If we do not question the government, we cannot improve the functioning of the government. The policies cannot be improved. The feedback will not be given to the government, right? So there is a difference between questioning the state and questioning the government. Chaliye, great. I'm glad that this is clear to you. All right. Then apart from that, what another reason the report cites is that the journalists have been threatened, harassed, and abused by communal forces in the country, and that is another reason for the downfall, right? So these are some of the reasons which the report cites. Now when we talk about our neighbors, यहाँ पे भी एक इंटरेस्टिंग या कह लो इंपॉर्टेंट फैक्ट है जो प्री या प्रीलिम्स एग्जाम के बेसिस या प्रीलिम्स के लिए इंपॉर्टेंट हो सकता है, दैट इज एक्सेप्ट नेपाल, every country has fallen. Pakistan has fallen, Sri Lanka has fallen, Bangladesh has fallen, Myanmar has fallen. Only Nepal has improved, right? So Nepal has improved from 106th position to 76th position this year. ये 2022 का रैंक है नेपाल का और ये 2021 का रैंक है. So it has improved from 106 to 76th position, and that is one thing which is an exception, that only Nepal in all the India's neighbors has improved. Rest everybody has. Yeah, exactly. But certainly, yes. So Nepal, China have improved. Rest everybody has deteriorated. Absolutely, your point is taken. ठीक है जी. So please bear this in mind. Now there are some general observations also. कुछ global references को ध्यान में रखते हुए या कह लो global situations को ध्यान में रखते हुए, there are some general observations. Like there is a twofold increase in polarization across the globe, which is further aggravated by information chaos. मतलब कि ये सारी चीजें जो हैं which lead to, which targets journalists, which targets a free press, that is on the rise across the globe. Then there is media polarization, which is driving divisions within the countries and also polarization between nations globally. So एक हो गया आपका within the nation itself, मतलब कि देश के अंदर, और एक हो गया कि अलग अलग कंट्रीज को भी अगर कंपेयर किया जाए. So within the world also this polarization is increasing, right? And it also says that democracies are being weakened. कि आपकी जो democracies हैं across the world, they are also being weakened because of such kind of things, right? That is what some general observations by the report says. Simran, look, Nepal has not, done any kind of targeting of their journalists. It has not intimidated their journalists. It has not selectively used its laws to arm twist their journalists. ठीक है? They have allowed their journalists to put questions to the government. And that is where Nepal has improved as compared to Sri Lanka, India, Pakistan और बांग्लादेश. ठीक है? Simple सी जो reason है, ये साफ साफ दिखता भी है that, that country has done something which is on the contrast good compared to its bigger neighbors, its some of the more economically advanced neighbors. All right, so these are some of the observations. Now our discussion will not be complete without talking about the World Press Freedom Day. So these are some of the factual informations from your prelims perspective कि इसको कब adopt किया गया था in 1993 when the UN General Assembly proclaimed 3rd of May as the World Press Freedom Day, ठीक है, which was adopted or which was done on the recommendation of the UNESCO General Conference of 1991, right? Then it also relates to same day marks the 1991 Winnock Declaration that was adopted by UNESCO. कुछ facts हैं जो ध्यान में रखने हैं आपको. फिर it is aimed at the development of a free, independent and pluralistic press, right? And for this year the theme is जर्नलिज्म अंडर डिजिटल सीज. ठीक है, सो ये कुछ हार्ड फैक्ट्स हैं जिनके ऊपर फैक्चुअल स्टेटमेंट्स बन सकती हैं, राइट? चलिए, सो विद दैट वी हैव कम टू एन एंड ऑफ दिस टॉपिक. लेट्स मूव टू द नेक्स्ट टॉपिक नाउ. यस, हाँ, बट बिफोर मूविंग टू द नेक्स्ट टॉपिक लेट मी जस्ट स्क्रॉल थ्रू द डाउट्स. फटाफट मैं देख लेता हूं एक बार डाउट्स कुछ थे बच्चों के. Yes, Pranjal, certainly India is consistently questioning the parameters. देखो, एक तो बात ये है कि क्या whether the organization is credible enough. जो भी अगर कोई ऐसी चीज पब्लिश हो रही है तो अगर हम क्वेश्चन कर रहे हैं then on what basis are we questioning? If we are able to provide that basis, then certainly it is agreed, it is fine, right? But without any basis, or if there is baseless questioning, then it is certainly doing us more harm. उससे हमें दिक्कत ही होगी. उससे India is not being, India is not portraying itself well on the world stage, right? We claim to be a global superpower, we claim to be an emerging superpower, and that is not how a superpower is supposed to behave, right? Self censorship, Nandini, relates to that. There are certain areas where you know the media also needs to put a full stop. That is, you cannot just allow everything to be covered, everything to be, you know, displayed on the news channels or the newspapers. Such as, you know, I remember there was the attack which was going on in Pathankot on the army installation, and some of the media houses, they were live streaming that. So that certainly threatens national security, right? So you have to impose self censorship also at times, right? I believe Nandini and Pranjal, your doubts have been addressed. Chaliye, all right. So with that, we will be moving forward. Polarization basically means कि divide. You are being divided on the basis of maybe gender, religion, political affiliations or any of the parameters. ठीक है, कोई भी पैरामीटर के बेसिस पे अगर आपको डिवाइड करके एक साइड या दूसरी साइड जो है धकेला जा रहा है कि मान लो मैं सिर्फ और सिर्फ जो है एक धर्म को या एक कास्ट को सपोर्ट करूं और बाकियों के खिलाफ हो जाऊं. That is what polarization means. That you have a tilt towards a specific, you know, towards a particular thing. It could be caste, it could be religion, it could be region, it could be language, anything. Right, Mohit? Chaliye, great. So let's move to the next topic now, that is concerning the P75I project. Mohit Sharma, I believe that is clear to you. फटाफट बता दो एक बार कमेंट सेक्शन में, and then we'll start with the project 75I. ठीक है, तो ये अभी दो आर्टिकल्स थे आपके हिंदू में, that is concerning, you know, even the Indian Express there was this article that French company, फ्रांस की एक कंपनी है जिसका नाम है नेवल ग्रुप, राइट, which was supposed to be a part of this project 75I, project P75I, जहां से इन्होंने विड्रॉ कर लिया है, राइट. सो दैट इज व्हाई इट वाज इन न्यूज. और फ्रांस का जो ये फ्रांस की जो एक कंपनी है, rather that is the naval group, what is the reason it has cited that, you know, in the request for proposal relating to the air independent propulsion system, they are unable to meet those requirements, and that is why they would like to withdraw, right? And this announcement by the naval group interestingly just came before the Indian Prime Minister was scheduled to meet you know, Emmanuel Macron, who is the French president. All right, so that is why it was in news. Now what becomes important from your exam perspective is that what is this technology and certain basics about this technology. So we are quickly going to deal with the basics of this tech, right? So first things first, when we talk about the project itself, before moving to the technology, let's quickly take a look at what is project 75I. So this deals with, you know, in the decades of 2000, the Cabinet Committee on Security Affairs approved a 30-year plan in 1999 to build indigenously some of the submarines, right? 24 exactly was the number कि 2030 तक हम इतनी submarines build करेंगे indigenously, and we will induct them in the Navy by 2030. So in the first phase, 2 lines of production were established, P75 and P75I. ठीक है, and each line was to produce 6 submarines. जो ये 2 थी, ये first phase की बात हो रही है. And right now P75 and P75I we are going to discuss. So जो P75 था उसके चलते there was a contract which was signed with, you know, the naval group, that is the French company here. This is the company from France which has now withdrawn, and the Indian part, that is the Mazgaon Dock Shipbuilders Limited. ठीक है, और इन्होंने ऐसा नहीं है कि कुछ डिलीवर नहीं किया. Obviously they delivered the first Calvary class or Scorpion class submarine under this project in 2017, which was commissioned in 2017, right? They also built another 5 submarines, और उसमें से latest जो थी, that is Vagshir, which was, you know, launched in April this year itself, and इसको induct या कह लो commission कर दिया जाएगा Navy में in 2023. So that is the status of the project, right? Now coming to, this is the project 75I's status, right? Apart from that, ये देखो कि P75 के जो कॉन्ट्रैक्ट्स थे वो तो उनके ऊपर काम हुआ, बट व्हेन वी टॉक अबाउट 75I, दैट वाज द सेकंड पार्ट ऑफ द कंप्लीट पैकेज, और द कंप्लीट यू कैन से, जो पूरा का पूरा हमने एनविसाज किया था 1999 में, राइट, द कैबिनेट कमेटी ऑफ सिक्योरिटी। इसमें डिलेज हुए, डिलेज कैसे हुए कि सबसे पहले 2008 में द फर्स्ट रिक्वेस्ट फॉर इंफॉर्मेशन वाज गिवन which was again issued in 2010 and the request for proposal was only issued in 2021। देखो इसमें होता क्या है, I'll just give you a brief। request for information में you basically that is the first proposal that is floated to build any equipment, right? उसके बाद request for proposal that is the RFP that is issued, and this RFP is wherein the companies they come forward and they involve themselves in the actual manufacturing and production of the equipment, right? So that has been issued in 2021 for the P75I project, right? And that is where the naval group has withdrawn itself। ठीक है जी, यहां तक चीजें क्लियर हैं। Now having said about or having talked about the project, let's move to what is the air independent propulsion system। All right, Pranjal is sharing an information here. He says that Vakshir is named after sandfish, considered as deadly deep water predator। All right, thank you for sharing that information। All right, so now talking about the air independent propulsion system। देखो सिंपल सी बात है, जैसे आपको सामने दिख रहा है, this is how a submarine looks, right? Now the submarine, it can either be conventional or it can be nuclear। कन्वेंशनल का मतलब ये है कि या तो ये किस पे चल रही है, डीजल पे, ठीक है, इट इज बीइंग रन ऑन द कन्वेंशनल फ्यूल दैट इज डीजल। अब ये जब डीजल पे चल रही है तो इट इज सबमर्ज्ड इन द वाटर एंड इट इज रनिंग ऑन डीजल, राइट? बट देयर आर ऑल्सो बैटरीज which are which are charged and which are running the submarine। So that is why you call it the diesel electric submarine। ठीक है, जब हम बात करते हैं when we talk about the conventional submarines we talk about the diesel electric submarines। So these conventional diesel electric submarines, when they have to run, they certainly have to run under the water। When they are running under the water, they are cut off from any supply of oxygen। ठीक है, but when you have to charge the batteries, see when this conventional submarine is running, it is submerged under the water where it is cut off from any kind of oxygen। But when it needs to run the generators, that is the electric generators, these electric generators will be run on diesel certainly, but they also need access to oxygen so as to charge the batteries, so as to charge the electric batteries which are in the submarine। तो अब इसमें issue क्या है, what exactly is the issue is that this submarine, it needs to come above the surface of the water, it needs to come closer to the surface of the water so that it can take in oxygen, it can get supply to oxygen, and the electric generators can be run and the batteries can be charged। इतनी बात समझ में आ रही है? यस, हाँ जी, ऑनलाइन इतनी बात समझ में आ रही है कि यहाँ पे कन्वेंशनल जो सबमरीन की बात हो रही है, यस एग्जैक्टली, फॉर चार्जिंग दे हैव टू सरफेस। नाउ यू सी व्हाट इज द ट्रबल कि as soon as a submarine or a sub, it will surface, the chances of getting detected by the enemies, these increase, that there is a high probability that the submarine might get detected by the enemy। ठीक है, now the point is that you have to surface because you need to charge the electric batteries। You cannot continue to remain beneath the surface of the water without getting the supply of the oxygen and charging the batteries, that also will prove fatal। But you have to take a calculated risk also, that you will have to surface, risking this detection by the enemy so as to get the supply to the oxygen and run the generators and charge the battery, right? That is where the air independent propulsion system comes into picture. ठीक है, now इतनी बात आपको समझ में आ गई है. Now it will be very easy for you to understand the exact thing. अब देखो हो क्या रहा है, that when we talk this thing I've already explained, जो ये points हैं मैं already आपको explain कर चुका हूं, that either it can be conventionally powered, that is the diesel electric submarine, or it can be a nuclear powered submarine, right? The conventional submarines use a diesel electric engine, as I've told you, and they must surface daily or in a span of 3 to 4 days. या तो ये डेली हो सकता है या फिर कह लो कि 2 से 3 दिन, मैक्सिमम 3 से 4 दिन में इसको सरफेस करना पड़ेगा to get oxygen for fuel combustion, right? If it is fitted with an air independent propulsion system, अगर इसमें AIP लगाते हैं तो ये डेली या फिर कह लो 2 दिन में इसको जो सरफेस करना पड़ेगा, that is stretched to somewhere between 7 days to 14 days. Okay, now if it is having this AIP, it will have to surface somewhere between 7 to 14 days. It can stay under the water, ठीक है, compared to 2 to 3 days without the AIP. तो इसका मतलब ये हुआ कि आपका चांस जो है डिटेक्शन का वो रिड्यूस हो गया, ठीक है. दैट इज द एयर इंडिपेंडेंट प्रोपल्शन टेक्नोलॉजी. इट अलाउज अ कन्वेंशनल सबमरीन टू रिमेन सबमर्ज्ड फॉर मच लॉन्गर देन ऑर्डिनरी डीजल इलेक्ट्रिक सबमरीन्स. So your chances of detection are reduced. Yes, exactly, right? Then all the conventional submarines that we are talking about, I've explained it I've already explained it, but still we are quickly we are going to repeat it, that they have to run their generators that recharge the batteries and allow the submarine to function under the water. These certainly require surfacing, right? But the more frequently a submarine surfaces, the higher the chances of it being detected. ठीक है, that is where the problem lies. Now AIP का I've already given you that what exactly is the positive or what exactly is the advantage, but still we are going to look into that also. Apart from that, if we talk about the current status of this technology being built in India, right? So we are, we have been working on to develop this technology indigenously, and even in 2022 Republic Day parade, DRDO has showcased a tableau of AIP. वो आपने देखा होगा ना, यू मस्ट हैव सीन के रिपब्लिक डे और इंडिपेंडेंस डे पे जो परेड्स होती हैं, 26 जनवरी और 15 अगस्त को जो परेड्स होती हैं, उसमें अलग अलग जो ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस हैं, PSUs हैं, अलग अलग स्टेट्स हैं, वो सब अपने अपनी टैब्ल्यू जो हैं वो रन करती हैं, ठीक है. सो उसमें DRDO ने इस साल रिपब्लिक डे पे द टैब्ल्यू व्हिच दे रैन, it contained a showcase of the air independent propulsion, right? So that shows that DRDO is quite close to getting all the things right. Apart from that, in 2021, last year March, the Defense Ministry also said that DRDO has achieved a milestone of this land-based prototype of the AIP. Land-based prototype मतलब कि एक ऐसा prototype जो ultimately which can be further developed into a full AIP system. तो उसके रिगार्डिंग भी DRDO को डिफेंस मिनिस्ट्री ने अपलॉज दिया था, right? So that is the current status of AIP systems development in India indigenously. Now coming to the pros and cons, obviously that there are pros, there are advantages. That is, they help the diesel generator less dependent on surface air and deliver better performance compared to other technologies. That is the AIP technology. ठीक है. Now take a look at the disadvantages. अब इस सारी जो भी इस टेक्नोलॉजी में इक्विपमेंट है, if you want to accommodate that equipment, then it requires that you increase the size and length of the boat, right? So it will increase the length and the weight of the submarine, and it will also increase the cost by around 10%. ठीक है. So these are some of the challenges, or you can say some of the disadvantages that are associated, or the demerits, right? चलिए, great. हाँ जी, इतनी चीज क्लियर है सभी लोगों को, because that is what all about AIP is. All right, great. So that brings us to the next topic. This we have discussed. Now coming to the Food Safety and Standard Authority of India, Food Safety and Standards Authority of India, FSSAI, and its FOPL system, that is front of package labeling system, जो अभी release किया है, and which is heavily under criticism by some of the academics. There were multiple articles, and even the FSSAI, the FSSAI CEO has said that the expert panel will study the star rating system, which is under criticism by the experts, right? So what exactly is the issue is that FSSAI, they said that we are going to introduce this star ratings for food products, right? But the experts say that this has the potential to mislead the consumers. कि देखो आपने जो भी अभी तक अपने इन योर लाइफ यू मस्ट हैव बॉट मेनी फूड आइटम्स, और उस पे ऐसा कुछ न्यूट्रिशन फैक्ट्स आपने देखे होंगे लिखे होते हैं. यस, देखे हैं कि नहीं देखे? इवन इफ यू परचेज अ चॉकलेट, or if you purchase a packet of milk, that also has this kind of nutrition facts which is stated कि कितनी इसमें कैलोरीज हैं, कितना इसमें फैट है, कितना इसमें शुगर कंटेंट है, कितने इसमें कार्बोहाइड्रेट्स हैं, ठीक है, एटसेट्रा एटसेट्रा. सो व्हाट द FSSAI वाज इट इज इंटेंडिंग टू डू कि इन चीजों के ध्यान में रखते हुए आपको स्टार रेटिंग दी जाए कि कौन सा प्रोडक्ट कितना हेल्दी है, कौन सा जो भी फूड पैकेज है वो कितना हेल्दी है या ना हेल्दी है, ठीक है. लेकिन एक्सपर्ट्स कह रहे हैं कि आप जो हो इस चीज को करके मिसलीड कर रहे हो कंज्यूमर्स को, या कंज्यूमर्स जो हैं they will get mislead, they will be misled by this. अब कैसे एग्जैक्टली वो अभी देखेंगे आगे, लेकिन ये जो है इशू है विच इज एट हैंड, ठीक है. और इन्होंने कहा है कि जो भी आप पॉलिसी मेकिंग कर रहे हो, मतलब कि वट एवर लेबलिंग सिस्टम द गवर्नमेंट एंड द FSSAI is introducing as a matter of policy making, that should be insulated, that should be free from any kind of influence of the food industry. देखो सिंपल सी बात है, मैकडॉनल्ड्स कभी आपको ये नहीं बताएगा कि जो आप ये मैक पिज्जा खा रहे हो, या ये मैक आलू टिक्की खा रहे हो, या मैक चिकन खा रहे हो, या जो भी कुछ खा रहे हो, उसमें कितना फैट है, उसमें कितना सॉल्ट कंटेंट है, या वो आपकी हेल्थ के लिए कितना हार्मफुल है. They are only interested in their profit, ठीक है. So that is one example. Now there can be n number of food products, there can be n number of packaged food products which are not wanting to tell you, or which are unwilling to tell you that what exactly is the harm in consuming this particular food item. They are only interested in their profit. और इसीलिए experts कह रहे हैं कि भाई जो food industry है, ये फूड इंडस्ट्री बेसिकली क्या करेगी, कंफ्यूज करने की कोशिश करेगी कंज्यूमर्स को, या मिसलीड करने की कोशिश करेगी कि इनको एग्जैक्टली पता ना चले कि इसमें कितना हार्मफुल है उनके लिए इस पर्टिकुलर चीज को कंज्यूम करना, ठीक है. लेकिन जो गवर्नमेंट है, या जो गवर्नमेंट अथॉरिटीज हैं, इंक्लूडिंग द गवर्नमेंटल बॉडीज सच एज FSSAI, दे हैव टू इंसुलेट पॉलिसी मेकिंग फ्रॉम द इन्फ्लुएंस ऑफ फूड इंडस्ट्री. ये चीज समझ में आ रही है कि भाई फूड इंडस्ट्री ठीक है, दे आर देयर टू मेक प्रॉफिट, बट द गवर्नमेंट विच इज रिस्पॉन्सिबल फॉर पॉलिसी मेकिंग, द गवर्नमेंट मस्ट थिंक अबाउट द वेलफेयर ऑफ द पीपल, इट मस्ट थिंक अबाउट द health considerations of the people, right? So that is where the experts have said that you must insulate these two things, that is the policy making and the interests of the food manufacturers or the food industry. Now taking a look at the food standards, Food Safety and Standards Authority of India, कि FSSAI exactly क्या है, before we move further. So when we talk about the FSSAI, it is an autonomous body, it is a statutory body under Food Safety and Standards Act of 2006, right? It is under the operational domain of Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. अच्छा, ऐसे सवाल यूपीएससी ने ऑलरेडी अपने प्रीलिम्स में पूछे हुए हैं. यूपीएससी हैज ऑलरेडी आस्क्ड सच क्वेश्चंस इन इट्स प्रीलिम्स, दैट इज whether a body is autonomous, attached, or under any ministry. So even if it is under the Ministry of Health, it is an autonomous body. So please keep this thing in mind. This can be a factual question, right? Then this is the responsibility of the FSSAI to handle food related issues, including the safe availability of food for human consumption, right? So that is FSSAI. This is a brief structure of FSSAI, that it is having food standards it has to maintain, and it has the compliance and inspections department also, which has the central advisory committee, state level committee, and district level committee, which look into whether the various food manufacturers in the country, right, they are complying by the standards or not. ठीक है. और इस तरफ क्या है, scientific committee है, which consists of chairperson and independent members, right, and under it it has various scientific panels. So that is basically how the FSSAI looks like, structure, in terms of its structure. Now when we talk about the mission and vision, so certainly you have the mission, which is to set globally benchmark standards of food. अब ये जो इनका मिशन है, ये मैंने क्यों इंक्लूड किया है, क्योंकि हम इसके साथ जो FSSAI का मिशन है, जिसमें बात कर रहे हैं ग्लोबली बेंचमार्क स्टैंडर्ड्स, तो यहाँ पे हम आज दो ग्लोबल एग्जांपल्स जो हैं उनकी बात करने वाले हैं. ग्लोबल एग्जांपल्स ऑफ हाउ डिफरेंट कंट्रीज दे लेबल देयर फूड आइटम्स. ठीक है. So as to tell the consumers whether it is healthy or not, right? Then its vision says that to build a new India by enabling citizens to have safe and nutritious food, and to prevent disease and lead them to a healthy lifestyle, which is a happy life also. ठीक है. तो ये basically FSSAI अपने वेबसाइट पे क्लेम कर रहा है. Now moving to the 5 core principles which the FSSAI cites, that is a shared vision with all stakeholders and change agents. अब यहाँ पे all stakeholders में देखो, जो ये अभी academics और experts ने questions उठाए हैं, they are also a part of these stakeholders. So FSSAI must take it on board. They must consider the suggestions which have been given to them, right? Then multiple partnerships with institutions and organizations, standardized processes, practices to achieve the scale, leveraging technology to enhance reach, effectiveness, and ensure transparency, and a positive work ethos and culture. So that basically are the 5 core principles which the FSSAI states it follows, right? So that is sufficient for this body. Now coming to the front of package labeling system. देखो, अगर कोई भी बॉडी न्यूज में है तो आपको बेसिक्स पता होने चाहिए उस बॉडी के. That is why we just took a look at the FSSAI. All right. So now moving to this rating basically. तो ये क्या है, FSSAI ने एक कमेटी कॉन्स्टिट्यूट की थी in 2013, right, which first recommended this particular system. जो इंडिया में फर्स्ट सच सिस्टम होगा जिसको अभी इंप्लीमेंट करने की बात कर रहे हैं. सो व्हाट दिस FSSAI led committee, in 2013, which was formed, it was the first one to recommend this particular thing, and this was also in consultation with IIM Ahmedabad, that is Indian Institute of Management Ahmedabad, did a study which was commissioned by the FSSAI, which led to the devising of this particular system, जो ये labeling system है. और ये क्या करने की कोशिश कर रहा है कि जितने भी packaged foods हैं, right, they will be given either half star or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. ठीक है. half, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 इनमें से कोई स्टार रेटिंग मिलेगी depending upon the ingredients, depending upon certain parameters, and that will tell you whether that particular packaged food item is unhealthy or it is healthy. That is what FSSAI is saying. But in this particular thing, there is a catch. ठीक है, जैसे दिख रहा है यहां पे एग्जैक्टली वैसा होने नहीं वाला, एंड वही एग्जैक्टली जो है इज द कॉज ऑफ कंसर्न. नाउ व्हाट इज द कॉज ऑफ कंसर्न? वी आर कमिंग टू दैट ओनली, that this basically has upset the public health experts. Why? I'll tell you. They say that instead of this, what you do, instead of this half star, 1 star, 2, 3, 4, 5 star rating, you can use the warning label systems which are being used by Chile or by Israel, and you clearly indicate that whether the particular product is having high salt, high sugar, high fat. ठीक है, जो आपका जो स्टार रेटिंग है इसमें इट विल नॉट बी विजिबल, इट विल बी नॉट क्लियरली विजिबल in your star rating whether a particular food item is containing high salt content, high sugar content or high fat content. अब इसमें देखो, before we move to the labeling system which India is trying to or FSSAI is trying to adopt, this is an example from Chile. ठीक है, this is the Chile or the Ministry of Health from Chile. अब ये क्या करते हैं, जो इनका पैकेजिंग या कह लो लेबलिंग सिस्टम है, they give you warning about high sodium content, high calorie content, high sugar content and high saturated fat content. तो जो ये black and white stop symbol है, it tells you that the particular food item which you are about to purchase, that is either containing high quantities of these things. Pranjal, certainly I'll come to your question, just give me a moment. ठीक है, अब यहां पे क्या है कि इसमें इट इज वेरी क्लियरली विजिबल, द विजिबिलिटी इज वेरी मच क्लियर दैट अ पर्टिकुलर फूड आइटम इज हैविंग आइदर हाई सोडियम, हाई कैलोरी, हाई शुगर और हाई सैचुरेटेड फैट. ठीक है, तो दैट इज वन एग्जांपल विच चिली इज सक्सेसफुली इंप्लीमेंटेड. नाउ कमिंग टू अनदर थिंग दैट इज इन इजराइल. अब एक इजराइल का एग्जांपल साइट कर रहे हैं एक्सपर्ट्स. ये दो एग्जांपल्स देख लो, उसके बाद आई मेक यू कंपेयर इट विद व्हाट FSSAI इज सजेस्टिंग, और आप तब खुद मुझे बताओगे कि क्या बेटर है. ठीक है, नाउ दिस इज द स्टेट ऑफ इजराइल एंड द मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ हेल्थ. दिस इज रिटन इन हिब्रू. ठीक है, ये हिब्रू में लिखा हुआ है, बट इंग्लिश ट्रांसलेशन ये है कि हाई शुगर कॉन्टेंट, एंड दिस इज इन रेड कलर. प्लीज पे अटेंशन टू द कलर ऑल्सो. It is deliberately being kept as red so as to make you stop that. Please be, please get cautious before you are purchasing such a food product, because it contains high sugar, it contains high sodium, it contains high saturated fat content. तो इन तीनों में से कोई भी लेबल अगर लगा हुआ है तो you will be very clearly able to identify that it is in, it might be harmful to your health. ये कौन कर रहा है? इजराइल. अब इसके साथ साथ इजराइल एक और लोगो यूज करता है, ये वाला लोगो, दैट इज दिस ग्रीन लोगो हेयर. ये वाला, ये दिख रहा है यहां पे. यस, इज दिस विजिबल टू यू? हाँ जी, द जूम पीपल ऑल्सो एंड द यूट्यूब पीपल ऑल्सो. ऑल राइट. अब ये वाला जो लोगो है, दिस इज बेसिकली अ हेल्दी लोगो. ठीक है, that if this green label is there, then it says that the particular food item is following the national nutrition guidelines issued by the Ministry of Health in the state of Israel. कि इजराइल सरकार की जो हेल्थ मिनिस्ट्री की नेशनल न्यूट्रिशन गाइडलाइंस हैं, उनको फॉलो करता है ये पर्टिकुलर फूड आइटम, एंड दैट इज वेयर दे विल गिव यू दिस ग्रीन लेबल, which means that you can safely go on consuming this particular food product without having to worry about any repercussions on your health, कि इसका आपके सेहत के ऊपर कोई नुकसान नहीं होगा. ठीक है, so it is a prominent symbol that will appear in front of the packages. ठीक है, या फिर जहां पे जिस मान लो शेल्फ के ऊपर वो फूड आइटम्स को रखा गया है, उस शेल्फ के ऊपर दिस ग्रीन सिंबल कैन अपीयर, एंड इट विल टेल यू दैट दीज आर सेफ फॉर योर कंजम्पशन बिकॉज दे फॉलो द नेशनल न्यूट्रिशन रिकमेंडेशंस बाय द हेल्थ मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ इजराइल. ठीक है, अब यहां पे देखो, मुझे ये बताओ, यहां पे कहीं पे कोई स्टार रेटिंग यूज हो रही है कि आधा स्टार, 1 स्टार, 2 स्टार, 3 स्टार या 5 स्टार? आर दे यूजिंग एनी स्टार रेटिंग हेयर, आइदर चिली और इजराइल? नो, दे आर वेरी क्लियरली या तो ये बता रहे हैं कि भाई ये सेफ है, या फिर ये बता रहे हैं कि इसमें हाई सैचुरेटेड कंटेंट है, सैचुरेटेड फैट, हाई सोडियम, हाई शुगर. They are very clearly demarcating and telling you that this is what this food item contains, and please be careful before consuming it. ठीक है? Absolutely सिमरन, निशा, बिल्कुल. अब देखो, इसको कंपेयर करो इजराइल वाले और ये जो चिली वाला है, इसको कंपेयर करो अब जो हमारा वाला करने की कोशिश कर रहा है. FSSAI वाला जो ये IAM का लेबलिंग सिस्टम है, ये क्या करने की कोशिश कर रहा है, यहां पे देखते हैं कंसर्न्स में. आई विल कम बैक टू दैट स्लाइड, डोंट वरी. ये क्या करने की कोशिश कर रहा है, हाँ, एट टाइम ऑफ प्रोडक्शन कंपनी, हाँ, 1 मिनट ऋषि, आई जस्ट कम टू दैट. अब देखो, ये क्या करने की कोशिश कर रहा है, जो हमारा लेबलिंग सिस्टम हम यूज करने की बात कर रहे हैं, इट विल, दिस एल्गोरिदम, इट विल असाइन अ फूड प्रोडक्ट, it will give a certain number of stars, as we have talked about, from half star to 5 stars, based on some positive and some negative aspects. What are the positive aspects? The positive aspects or the positive components are fiber, protein, fruit, vegetable, nut, legume content. कि इनमें से कोई भी कंटेंट अगर आपके पर्टिकुलर फूड आइटम में इफ इट इज देयर, देन इट विल बी कंसिडर्ड एज अ पॉजिटिव कंपोनेंट एंड इट विल लीड टू एन इंक्रीज इन द स्टार रेटिंग. ऑलराइट, नाउ इट विल बी ऑफसेट और इट विल बी बैलेंस्ड अगेंस्ट सम अदर components, presumably the negative components such as sugar, sodium, saturated fat, which will lead to a decrease in the star rating. So as a matter of fact, what will be given to you is something that is a net of this positive and negative, but nowhere will it be clearly telling you that it is high in sugar content, it is high in sodium content, it is high in saturated fat content. So now you yourself tell me whether this has the potential to mislead the consumers or not. Yes or no? Does it have the potential to mislead the consumers? Yes or no? Hanji. Certainly it has the potential to mislead the consumers, because unlike Chile, unlike Israel, you are not clearly telling कि भाई आपका जो ये फूड आइटम है, it is having high sugar content, it is having high sodium content, it is having high saturated fat content. ठीक है? And that is why you need to give clear symbols. You need to give clear mentioning, or you can say you need to give clear marking, like Chile and Israel, on the food products, where you are categorically very outrightly telling the consumer that this can be harmful for your health. ठीक है? And that is where the experts have said that this is divorced from science. This is having no relation with scientific basis. It is having no relation with science, as the presence of high quantities of sugar cannot be offset by the so-called positive ingredients. कि अगर मान लो इस एक particular food item में there is intolerably high amount of sugar, and there are certainly vegetables also which are put into it, there are certain nuts also. So that does not mean that you provide it a 4-star rating just because it has nuts, legumes, and maybe some fruits also along with high sugar content, because ultimately that is going to harm your body, that is going to be harmful to your body because of this high sugar content. ठीक है? तो आपने वहां उसको दे दिया क्या? आपने उसको दे दी 4-star रेटिंग ठीक है, ऑफसेट कर दिया इस हाई शुगर कंटेंट को अगेंस्ट हाई मे बी नट्स, मे बी वेजिटेबल और फ्रूट्स, बट दैट डज नॉट मीन दैट द फूड प्रोडक्ट इज नॉट हार्मफुल. आर यू गेटिंग माई पॉइंट? ये चीज समझ में आ रही है? ये चीज समझ में आ रही है? yes or no? Absolutely. So that is exactly what the experts are saying, that just because it is having some, positive components, you cannot just offset or balance those positive components against the negative or the harmful components which are present in the food item. ठीक है? And as concerned to Pranjal's question, he said that, sir, how many people are going to pay attention? Pranjal, that is not the question at all. चाहे वो 10 लोग देखें, चाहे 10 करोड़ लोग देखें, चाहे 10 लाख लोग देखें, हमें पॉलिसी मेकिंग जो है वो तो सुधारनी ही है. We have to improve policy making. We have to provide for that kind of policies which are beneficial, which are for the welfare of the people. Right? We cannot just ask that how many people are going to pay attention to that. Certainly, there will be a section of the population which is going to pay attention to it. No, I am not saying that everybody will pay attention to it, but that does not mean that we do not come up with a policy in the first place. Right? Chaliye, all right. So these are some of the concerns that have been raised, and apart from that, the previous slide which I had missed earlier was significance of the labeling system. So when you label the products, certainly you give a health caution to the citizens, right, through the warning symbols about what can be the ill effects on the health. ठीक है? Then you also help the consumers make an informed and healthy choice. कि भाई, you are telling the person very clearly that if you consume this product, this is the positive, this is the negative, which is going to be there on your body, right? That these signs, they educate the consumers about the harmful ingredients, right? Then consumer education and awareness for the long term also about the nutrition profile of whatever they are eating, right? So these are certainly the significance which is associated with such labeling systems. ठीक है? Concerns we have already discussed. Now coming to what can be the way out. देखो, in the way out what we can suggest is that this has been a long fight. ठीक है? Long fight किसकी रही है कि हमारे देश में जो है, we can come up with such kind of systems, such kind of safeguards for the consumer's interests, right? And if we implement the proposed system, जो भी propose किया गया है, then it might lead to losing that fight. And that is why the system can be, we can look up to Chile or Israel and we can fix the flaws. कि ये देखो, it is not a movie. Please appreciate the fact, it is not a movie, or it is not a TV commercial, or it is not a web series that you give a star rating. It is directly associated with what you are consuming, with what you are putting inside your body, right? So that is going to be a part and parcel of your body. So that cannot be just treated like a movie or a web series which is, star rated from half to 5 stars. There has to be a very categorical, a very unequivocal, or we can say unambiguous mentioning of whether this is harmful and how it is harmful, high sugar, high calorie, high sodium or high fat content, whatsoever it is, right? So we can maybe look up to the models which Chile and Israel are following, and we can subsequently and slowly make the food manufacturers in the country adopt such measures. देखो, चिली ने भी ऐसा नहीं है कि रातों रात ये systems जो हैं वो evolve कर लिए. They also took 10-12 years to completely overhaul the system, to completely come to the state where they are right now, to come to the status where they are right now, to make the companies, the food manufacturers, follow by what the present system of labeling is there in Chile, right? So what can be done is that you start small and subsequently and gradually, ठीक है? What I'm trying to say is that you can gradually completely implement such a system. ठीक है, इसमें ना तो बिजनेसेस को प्रॉब्लम होगी, द फूड मैन्युफैक्चरिंग कंपनीज दे विल ऑल्सो बी having ample time to comply with the new guidelines, maybe to overhaul how they manufacture their products and how they label their products. They will also not be blaming the government for coming up with something which has to be implemented overnight, and the interests of the consumers, the ones who are eating these food products, these food items, their interests will also be safeguarded, right? So that can be a potential way out, राइट. सो आई होप यहां तक सब कुछ क्लियर है सभी लोगों को. हाँ जी, प्लीज गिव मी अ थम्स अप और टाइप अ यस इफ एवरीथिंग इज क्लियर टू यू. All right, so with that we have come to an end of today's class. I believe that I was able to make you understand all the things very clearly, right? ठीक है. So with that, it's a wrap from my side. Thank you so much for being a part of this session and also interacting with me. I'll see you on Monday with current affairs related to specifically polity and governance, right? So all of you stay safe, study well, take care, and Jai Hind. Bye-bye. Bye.